It was the kind of late summer afternoon that felt suspended between gold and shadow. The rolling plains of the west stretched beneath the sun, dipping toward the horizon, painting every blade of grass in molten light. Long, solemn shadows crept across the cracked, dusty road, and the air, though still, carried a whisper of movement. Luke Dawson climbed down from his rusted pickup and let his boots fall onto the parched earth with a soft thud, the sound swallowed almost immediately by the wide silence. The wind teased strands of hay across his path, and there was something else in the breeze, an undercurrent of neglect that pricked at his senses and wouldn't let go. 8 years had passed since he last felt this wind on his face, and now, at home again, he realised the war had never truly left him. What would he find waiting in the fields of his childhood? Luke's once youthful face was now a map of sunburnt lines and sorrow. His back curved slightly from years of lugging gear, heavier than any man should bear, and chronic pain was his constant companion. Nights were worse. The ghosts of distant firefights and the blast of shrapnel haunted his dreams. Yet amid the shell shock and sleeplessness, one thought had clung to him with fierce loyalty. Bolt, the Belgian Malinois he'd trusted with his life more times than he could count. Than he could count. Bolt had dragged him through dust and gunfire, saved his leg from shrapnel, and been the steady heartbeat beside him in foxholes across Kuwait and Syria. When Luke was medically discharged, he assumed Bolt would retire alongside him or be reassigned to another handler. But weeks turned into months with no word. Calls to old corps contacts, base command, logistics each ended in vague promises or dead ends. Until at last a whisper reached him. Bolt was temporarily at a private K9 training facility of a shadowy shell corporation. Determined, Luke traced every rumour and forum post, made dozens of calls, and finally uncovered a location outside a mid-sized city, neglected land behind a shuttered industrial park. He arrived at dusk, the sky a bruised purple, and clambered over a sagging wire fence. The lot smelled of rust and rot, tall grass hiding discarded debris. At the far end, half covered in vines and littered with broken pallets, he heard it. The gentle jangle of chain. Frozen, heart-hammering, he crept forward and then saw it. A curled shape so gaunt, it seemed carved from bone. Patches of fur were missing, ribs jutted through the skin, and flies buzzed around, oozing sores. "Oh, Bolt," Luke whispered, voice thick with disbelief. The dog did not stir. Luke sank to his knees, every scrap of strength draining away as he reached out. "A Bolt, it's me. Luke, stillness. Spook, stillness." Then, in barely a blink, the German command they had drilled into muscle memory. A sitz, a pause, a twitch of ears, and Bolt lifted his head as if rousing from a nightmare. His eyes, once blazing amber, were cloudy, but recognition flickered. A low, broken whimper escaped. Luke collapsed against him, tears soaking the matted fur. "I've got you now, buddy. You're not alone." The rural veterinary clinic smelled of antiseptic and dread. Under humming fluorescent lights, Bolt lay on a cold steel table, thin ribs rising and falling. Dr. Hernandez, a veteran of overseas animal rescues turned volunteer, examined him with practiced urgency. She lifted a paw to a swelling, sighed as she noted every scar and infection. "He's severely malnourished," she said, voice tight. "A weight dangerously low, multiple skin infections from neglect, and these scars," she traced shallow lines on his leg. "Oh, some were intentional. He's been abused." Rage and guilt crashed through Luke in equal measure. "Abused," he echoed, voice hollow. "This dog saved me." "Oh, this dog saved me." Dr. Hernandez gave him a solemn nod. He's been through hell. That night, in the quiet hum of his small kitchen, Luke pulled up the photo he'd snapped of Bolt's hollow eyes and protruding bones. Hey. Beneath it, he typed, "He fought for this country, and this is how he was treated." With a trembling hand, he hit a post. Within hours, the image had spread across social feeds like wildfire. Veterans, K9 handlers, and civilians alike sharing their heartbreak and fury. "Unacceptable," one former Marine wrote. "Where's the accountability?" pleaded a retired Air Force officer. By morning, major outlets had picked up the story. Celebrities lent their voices, and animal rights groups demanded federal investigation. Luke's inbox flooded with offers of help and donations for Bolt's care. It was no longer just their story. It had become a national reckoning. With the momentum behind him, Luke turned his modest country home into a refuge. He cleared the guest room, laid fresh bedding, lined shelves with medical supplies, and threw open the windows to let in every ray of sun. Each morning began with a careful ritual. Small, calorie-rich meals designed not to overwhelm Bolt's frail system. doses of antibiotics and salves for his sores, and hours spent simply sitting beside him, speaking in soft tones. At first, Bolt barely stirred. His body, starved and betrayed, struggled to trust. But one morning, weeks in, he finished an entire bowl of food. A week later, he mustered the strength to stand on shaky legs and walk to the door. By the end of the second month, a faint but unmistakable tail wag greeted Luke each time he entered the room. Each small victory was a miracle, one that stitched their two broken souls a little closer together. Luke often talked to Bolt about everything and nothing. Some evenings he shared battle memories, the night they crawled under a desert moon, goggles fogged, listening to distant mortar fire. Other times he read aloud from old books or simply hummed, brushing matted fur until it shone again. Through it all, Bolt's spirit rekindled, his eyes brightened with a guarded warmth, his loyalty fierce but calm. He still responded instantly to German commands, ears perking at the click of a light switch or the beep of a plate being set down, saved. But there was no aggression, only purpose, a promise to protect Luke as Luke had saved him. One stormy night, thunder rattled windows like distant mortars. Luke jolted awake, drenched in sweat, a panic attack tearing at his chest. He could barely breathe. Every shadow in the room seemed to shift into an enemy combatant. Then he felt it, a gentle paw nudging his chest, a soft whine deep in Bolt's throat. The dog climbed onto the bed, pressing his warm body against Luke's side, anchoring him to the present. Bolt's steady breathing was a heartbeat against the madness. Luke wrapped his arms around him, burying his face in thick fur and let the sobs come. "It's okay," he whispered. "We're home now. We're safe." By dawn, the storm outside had passed, and for the first time in years, Luke slept through the night. Weeks later, under a bright Saturday sun, Luke and Bolt set out on their routine trip to the local convenience store. Luke parked beneath an old oak, and Bolt rode shotgun, coat healthy and eyes alert. "I'll be right back, buddy," Luke called, disappearing inside to pick up coffee and jerky. Moments later, a masked man burst through the door, a pistol in hand, herding customers to the floor. A terrified little girl was dragged toward the counter, sobbing as the gun pressed against her temple. Luke froze, heart pounding, but before he could move, Bolt was gone. The truck door clicked, the leash unwrapped itself from the handle, and the dog slipped out into the sunlit parking lot. No bark, no growl, just purpose. Inside, chaos reigned. The gunman shouted. The cashier cowered behind the register. Bolt slipped in unseen, weaving silently between snack racks. Luke caught the glint of his eyes for a heartbeat before it happened. Bolt launched himself at the man, jaws clamping down on his arm. The gun flew free as both man and dog tumbled. With astonishing control, Bolt held him down. No excess force, just trained precision, dragging the attacker away from the girl. She bolted into Luke's arms, sobbing, and Luke held her close as the world outside the store seemed to stop. By the time police arrived, Bolt sat calmly beside the subdued assailant, tail wagging as if asking, "Did I do good, Dad?" That evening, security footage of a streak of tan fur saving a child ran on every local news station, and soon on national broadcasts. Standing before a bank of cameras the next day, Luke rested one hand on Bolt's head. Reporters called it a surgical rescue. Viewers marvelled at the silent heroism of the once forgotten war dog. He remembered who he was, Luke told them softly. Born to protect, and he still chooses to do it every day. Under that big western sky, Bolt's story transformed from tragedy to triumph. A crisp white envelope arrived weeks later, sealed with a gold insignia. Inside, Luke found an invitation to speak at the National War Dog Memorial Ceremony in Washington, D.C. The first time a section would honor forgotten and abandoned war dogs. On the big day, Bolt lay at his feet as thousands of veterans, soldiers, and families listened. Luke spoke of ghosts carried home, of dogs carrying them too. War didn't break him. We did, he said, voice resonant. But love brought him back. Now it's our turn to do better. In the months that followed, Luke turned words into action. With veterans, advocates, and countless donations, he founded Bolt's second mission, a non-profit to find, rescue, and rehabilitate retired military working dogs, abandoned or lost to bureaucracy, and to pair them with veterans in need of healing bonds and stories poured in of dogs found in shelters, cages behind private contractors, and unmarked kennels. Bolt became the face of the movement, his photo a symbol of resilience, his journey a call to compassion. Years moved, like seasons, across the quiet plains. One dawn, as the sky blushed pink over the lake where Luke and Bolt once walked, the aging dog lay beside his old master, muzzle silvered, and eyes clouded, but still burning with that fierce fire. At his side stood a young German shepherd rescued from a collapsed kennel in the south, skittish, unsure, but curious. Luke knelt, whispering, "He'll show you the way," and patted Bolt's side. Bolt stirred, leaning into the gentle hand. In that soft light, shadows stretched long across the grass, painting a portrait of peace. Some stories stay with us, not because they roar, but because they speak to the quiet corners of the heart. Luke and Bolt's journey is one of love, loyalty, and second chances, proof that even in the darkest chapters, healing can be written in the spaces between us. If this tale touched you, pass it on. No, because sometimes the ones we save are the very souls who save us right back, and their legacy is ours to carry forward.